I met this girl when I was 10 years old, and what I loved most, she had so much soul. Hey everybody, it's Old School Heart back with another video for you guys. I just want to say thank you to all of you guys who commented on the last video, who liked the video. Do me a favor, if you like the content here, if you like our cultural discussions, hit the subscription button. Please hit the subscription button. The more subscribers that I have, the more that I get attention on YouTube, the more people can join in on our discussion, and different perspectives are always welcomed here. We want to grow together. We want to spur each other along. And so it's so important for you guys to hit that button so that we'll have more perspectives. So go ahead and hit that like button as well. Go ahead and share this video as well. These videos are so important for our community so that we can contribute in finding these missing Black girls. So today we are on episode 8 of Where My Girls At. I do want to make another note. Okay guys, I have another update for you. So on the last video that I did say that Tony Jacobs, which is Keisha Jacobs, who I covered last week. If you have not watched that video, please go ahead and watch the video of Keisha Jacobs. But on that last video, I did say that Tony Jacobs had postponed the annual rally until May. Now she has changed that, and she is going to keep the original date of her rally. So if you are in the Richmond, Virginia area, or you plan on contributing or donating anything to this event, it's back to its regular scheduled program date or event date. So I'm going to post that flyer here for you to see it. So now that I've updated you with the information, let's get on with today's video. This is episode 8 of Where My Girls At. Now, I know my fellas can attest to this, but this question is specifically for my ladies out there, my sisters out there, because I know that there is a different dynamic when I ask this question to females. But you ever felt like you made the wrong decision? Like the decision that you made changed the trajectory of your life or your current state of being, whatever that was. Like I can remember I was supposed to be doing a job, and I decided on my way to doing that job, I was going to stop and get me some ice cream. So I stopped, I got me the ice cream, really didn't even have the money to be buying any ice cream, but I stopped anyway because I had had a pretty good day. Stopped, got some ice cream, was coming out of the parking lot from getting that ice cream, going to the other part of the intersection, and smack dab, I was hit by a car. But something in my mind before that moment was telling me, you don't need that ice cream and you can't afford it, so you don't even need to be going there. So I know that there are ladies out there who have made a split decision that has changed their lives completely. And in the back of your mind, you're always saying, why did I do that? I wish I had done something different. I wish I had made another move. I wish. This is the story of LaQuanta Riley. Where My Girls At, episode 8. Pamela was barely a baby herself when she got pregnant with LaQuanta. LaQuanta was born February 27th of 1984. Now, Pamela wasn't fully able or ready to embrace motherhood, so she made the responsible decision to let LaQuanta be taken care of by a great aunt. But she wasn't like the typical teenage parent. She didn't allow them to just fully take responsibility for LaQuanta. She had a great relationship and a consistent relationship with LaQuanta all the way up into her disappearance, actually. Now, that doesn't mean LaQuanta was slighted at all as a child. She still was very well taken care of by her great aunt. Now, throughout her childhood, LaQuanta was an exceptional child. She was an honor student. She made great grades in high school and middle school, and actually was a very, very intelligent young woman. Now, LaQuanta was very, very active while in school. She played the clarinet in middle school and high school. Everybody saw her as very, very bubbly, very, very loving, compassionate. Her mom says that she loved cooking. That was something that she could do very, very well. Also, she loved music, and always had the radio or her CDs playing, because we're talking a long time ago. So she always had her CDs playing. LaQuanta and her family resided in Montgomery, Alabama. And that is where she attended high school, Reading High School, where she graduated in 2002. Now, like I stated before, she was an honor student, made honor roll all throughout high school, and that actually afforded her a full college scholarship where she was going to pursue criminal justice. So she had a bright, bright future ahead of her. She was ready and prepared for that, and she was working on making that dream a possibility. Now, Pamela did not only have LaQuanta. She had 5 kids total. Now, one of those kids unfortunately passed away in 1996. And so, of course, this makes this a more tragic story for Pamela, because at this point, 2 kids of hers are not with her. So, as I'm doing these stories about these missing girls, every week I'm discovering something new and something familiar. And that is that not all stories have one tragedy. A lot of these stories have multiple tragedies. And so it's important to tell these stories so that we can relieve of some of these multiple tragedies that these people have, and that we can assist them in any way that we can. Because that's got to be tough. That's got to be hard. And so whether you believe in prayer, whatever you believe in, positive energy, affirmations, all of that, send some up for these families, because they're not just going to be just dealing with this. There's life that occurs outside of one experience. And so we want to make sure we are lifting them up and giving them good energy and positive energy, because life is tough. And this is the same for Pamela and her family as well. Okay, before I get into the details of LaQuanta's disappearance, I want to take you back to about a month before the disappearance. So it's around Thanksgiving time in 2003. LaQuanta is living with a roommate in Eufaula, Alabama. And so something happens where LaQuanta is not pleased with her living situation. I don't know if her and her roommate weren't getting along. She just didn't like the area. She wanted to move back home. But something happened that made LaQuanta want to leave the apartment with that roommate altogether. So on December 5th, LaQuanta calls Pamela, her mother, and she is upset and she is ready to move out. She does not want to be there anymore. So she gathers her belongings and she calls Pamela and says, "Hey, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm gathering my stuff. I want to come home with you." Pamela, unfortunately, says, "Hey, I can't come get you right now. I can't assist you right now." So I don't know if Eufaula is far from Montgomery, where Pamela stays, or if Pamela at the time could not help her. So LaQuanta is like, "That's fine. I'll just find another family member that I can stay with." And she does. She finds her aunt and her cousin, who also live in Montgomery. they say that it's okay for her to stay with them. So on December 5th, she gathers her belongings and she moves back in with her aunt and her cousin. So I don't know what happened with that, especially when you're young like that. You really think it's really cool to like live on your own and have roommates, and then you recognize at some point that the roommate that you have, you guys are not, really that cool. Everything's not cohesive. There are things that you find out about that person that you just don't like, which is why people always say, don't live with your best friend, which is kind of true. I've always kept my friendships, my best friend friendships separate. I always felt like in order for us to continue to maintain our friendship, that we should not live together. And so that actually has worked for me. I have a best friend that I've had since high school, and a lot of other friends that, we've just been able to just have friendship bliss because we do not live together. And so I have seen other women go through this and have the same issue as LaQuanta. They have to go immediately. They have to leave for their own sanity, because you wake up one day and you go, who is this person that I used to be so cool with? We're not the same anymore. And so completely understand why LaQuanta left with the quickness. And I couldn't even find any information as to what the disagreement was, but when you're that age, I believe she was 18 at the time, 18 or 19. It didn't have to be anything big, it could just be two people who clash in a home together. So let's fast forward to the date of her disappearance, which was December 7th, 2003. So now she's residing in Montgomery with the rest of her family. It's late at night. It's about 11 o'clock at night. Somehow or some way, she calls her parents. She calls Pamela's house and she asks for a jacket. And so she tells them, hey, I'm coming in really quickly to get a jacket, and then I'm leaving right back out. So once again, it's 11 o'clock at night. So she comes to the house in a dark green, either it's a Ford Taurus or it's a Chevrolet Caprice, but it's a 4-door dark green car, right? So she pulls up in this car, runs into Pamela's house to get this jacket. Now her brother is looking outside at the car and he's like, who car is this? Who is this? Who is this person? And LaQuanta tells him, oh, this is a friend of the neighborhood. And he goes, well, I ain't never seen this guy before, and she says, oh, it's no problem. This guy that, lives in the neighborhood. It's cool. I'm good. And that literally was the last time they saw LaQuanta. Now, with this case in particular, that's a little different than the other cases, is Pamela didn't instantly call the police to file a missing persons report. And I actually sort of kind of agree with the reason to not do so. Number one, LaQuanta was of age. She was not a runaway type of a person, so there was no issue there. When she left, her brother actually saw her leave, saw the car that she was leaving in. LaQuanta was not in distress or anything like that. And I'm also assuming sometimes her communication with Pamela wasn't every day, or it wasn't like constant. There are some people who they talk to their parents like literally every day. I'm not one of those people who talk to my parents every day. Even at 19 and in college, I think I had began a routine of talking to my mother almost every day. But there were some times where 2 days could go past and I may have not talked to them. And so I think this was the case with Pamela and LaQuanta, where Pamela was letting LaQuanta be an adult. So she actually did not file a missing persons report on LaQuanta until 3 days later. Because I think after day 2, you're like, okay, wait, I haven't gotten a phone call and I haven't, nobody else has seen her. So then I'm going to start to worry quite a bit. So the one thing that I think made her really decide, okay, it's been 3 days. I haven't heard from LaQuanta. And not only that, her purse is here and her money is here. And if you're not coming back to get those two things, then there is something to worry about. Now, we're women. We keep multiple purses. I keep money everywhere. And so that's another thing that we can also say. Hey, she may have another purse that she's using. I have two. Wherever I go, I have two purses. I have my big purse and I have my small purse. Depends on where I'm going. I might drop off the big purse, only have the small purse. And so even having those purses, that purse and that money there, doesn't necessarily mean that LaQuanta needed to hurry back home and get those two things. Sometimes we don't need to do that. And so I know for some people, you'll look at it and go, why did she wait 3 days? Because she's an adult, because she a young adult, but she was also an adult. And not only that, LaQuanta was responsible. This is somebody who had a full scholarship to college, who had been on the honor roll forever, who was not a runaway. So why would Pamela worry about her the way that I think some of the other cases would be a cause to worry? And that is the reason, I think that's the difference between this case and some of the other cases that we've gone through and where my girl's at. Now, there was very few leads on this disappearance. Now, the only really, really big lead that Montgomery Police Department had was the little brother seeing his sister get into the dark green four-door car, whether it was a Ford or a Chevrolet. That was the only thing that they had. Now, it was a couple of weeks, or some would even say a few days later, that Pamela actually said that she received a voicemail from who she believed or who she thought was LaQuanta. Now, on this voicemail, because we're talking about 2003 at the time, so most definitely we still have voicemails. We still had answering machines, unlike the ones that we have on our cell phones today. On the message that she believes is from LaQuanta, she couldn't get the message very clear, but she thought that either LaQuanta said, "Leave me alone," or "Let me go home." So she wasn't able to distinguish between those two messages, but she did say that she believed it was LaQuanta. And not only that, she could hear someone saying LaQuanta's name, like a man saying LaQuanta's name. And then the phone disconnects, abruptly ends, and nothing has ever come from that voicemail, or no leads were ever found after that voicemail. Now, Pamela was really on it. Whenever I read and investigated this disappearance, she basically followed every lead that she had. And what I'm assuming is that she had to do the majority of the work, because I'm not getting very much information from the Montgomery Missing Persons Police Department, or that part of the police department. And so I'm assuming whenever she got a lead, she went and followed up on it, like a lot of the mothers and parents have done, which can be chaotic for them because they are trying the best that they can to find their child. And sometimes it can lead you all over the country and can lead you nowhere, where people are playing with your heartstrings or playing with your desperation. So she gets this lead that LaQuanta Riley's name is used for an apartment in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which I'm assuming is not that far from where they reside in Alabama, because I believe that LaQuanta actually went to school in Stone Mountain. So, I mean, it may be really, really close. Alabama is really close to Georgia anyway, but I'm just saying those two areas are fairly close. So she goes out there to Stone Mountain to this apartment that's supposed to have LaQuanta Riley's name as the tenant. And she shows a picture to one of the neighbors. The neighbor says, I've seen her quite a bit. She actually lived here. She came to my apartment. She seemed very, very upset, very, very distressed. And she asked to use my cell phone for a second. I allowed her to use my cell phone. And that was not too long ago, but you just missed her. She actually moved out of the apartment like a couple of days or a week ago. And so unfortunately, you know, Pamela, that had to be hard for Pamela to hear, especially because here someone is saying, oh, that's definitely your daughter. She definitely had an apartment here, but she left a couple of weeks ago. Oh my gosh, or a week ago. Like, that has to be super, super hard for her. And so the one thing that I will say, out of all of the cases that I've covered this far, Phoenix and her in particular seem to be closer to actually being someone that could be found, as opposed to some of the others that I think it would be hard to find at this point, or there's a cover up going on. But her and Phoenix in particular, I think, are very, very similar in that a lot of people have cited them. And even to me, her face really looks familiar. And so, yeah, that's a sad story, in that, you know, she was this close to possibly finding LaQuanta and somebody verifying that LaQuanta is alive, and she missed her by a couple of days. So there wasn't a lot of information that I could gather from this missing person in particular. So, you know, as we always do here at Where My Girl's At, we try to dig deeper into other parts or other things that we can take away from this disappearance. Now, Alabama is one of those states that has a hard time identifying missing persons or categorizing missing person cases correctly. What I mean by that is a lot of times they will miscategorize a missing person as a runaway. Sometimes these are put into other categories that don't particularly favor in finding the victim or finding the missing person. We talked about this before. When you categorize a black woman as a runaway, or you categorize someone as a runaway, unfortunately, the public also will disengage from assisting in finding that person, or sharing the information, or even looking for that person, participating in looking for that person, because they figure if they're a runaway, it's not their problem. The child will eventually come back to the family. We already know that there are systematic and racial issues in Alabama. This is a southern state. You know, they do things the southern way. And so, unfortunately, a lot of these cases don't receive any media attention. Even though a lot of these children, or a lot of these kids in particular, don't have runaway issues. LaQuanta wasn't a runaway child. She had no reason to run away, not one that we are particularly aware of. And so, when you have police officers and they get these missing persons cases, they do not do the best to try to find these people. And as a result, The state has over a number of black women who are on the national list of missing persons because the cops did not do everything or did not use their last resort to help or aid in finding these black women. Not only that, because they haven't paid a lot of attention to African American culture and dynamics and different things like that, they miss certain clues, they miss certain things. And we talked about that before as well. Black people have a specific culture. We have different things that we do. And when you don't have someone in that department that can identify with the culture and the language and different things like that, the communication that comes to you isn't easily deciphered. And so what may be important to us may not be important to you. Now, for me, I can say that this had to be serious because she left out on December 7th, right? That's when she was reported missing, was December 7th. Actually, she left out on December 3rd or 3rd or 4th is when she really went missing, and then she was reported on the 7th. I'm sorry if I did not say that correctly. So for us, we know that around the holidays, most of the time, that's when families meet together. And so anybody who's anybody knows that nobody's going to run away and not be back by one of the most important holidays. A lot of us treat Christmas as a big celebration in the black community. And so even if somebody went away for a day, 2 or 3, if they didn't come back sometime before Christmas, you know that something has happened. And so when police are not particularly aware of that part of our culture, then they miss out on an opportunity to blast this person through the media, to hold press conferences, and to really, really be looking for these people. If they knew that, they would do that, you know. And that's one of the things that I researched when I was going through this case. Now, once again, like I said, in Montgomery, they have 7 black girls whose cases have went on to the national level of missing persons, and they're put in that database. That's not a high number, but for Montgomery, Alabama, just that part, that is kind of high. Also, I think I've said this before, but there are 613,000 missing people in the United States alone. 613,000. 60% of that 613,000 are black people. And so it just once again tells us that we have a crisis on hand, that we are not doing a very good job, particularly in making sure these people's names are out in the public, that people know about them, and that these cases are being solved. Now, because I wasn't able to find a lot of information about LaQuanta, I did want to give you some background information just so that we'll have a little bit more information on LaQuanta. On the date of her disappearance, she did go back and get that jacket, right, that I told you. So it must have been a little bit colder. It is the winter time. LaQuanta is 5'8" tall, and she's about 200 pounds. She is a dark-skinned girl. She has black, dark brown hair, and she has brown eyes. Now, she has a piercing in both ears and one in her tongue. Also, she had 2 tattoos. One of them was of her sister that died in 1996. It says R.I.P. Maisha. I believe that's how she says her name, or Misha. That's on one of her arms, and then her name is on the other arms. She does have a nickname. She goes by Quanta, or she goes by LaQuanta. And so, of course, as always, I will make sure that you have an updated picture of her, of what she would look like at the age of 36. Well, actually, she's 37 because February is already passed. So she is 37. She and I are around the same age. And so that is her age. She is 37. So if you have any information or have seen her, and what's so crazy is I swear she looks like somebody that I've seen before. And of course, when you guys go through this, you're going to be like, she looks like somebody I've seen before too. So if you have any information for this case, please reach out to the number that I provide in the description box. Also, I do want you guys to know that, like I said before, Pamela did have a great relationship with her daughter. She really did have a great relationship with her daughter. And since her daughter has disappeared, she has tried her best to keep her daughter's name out there. They do have the Raleigh Foundation. They do have the Raleigh Foundation that Pamela has started in support of missing persons and in support of finding LaQuanta. And so if you would like to participate in that, there is a Facebook group out there for that. And once again, if you want to donate to her foundation, you can find out information on that Facebook page. I'll list that below. So like I stated, sometimes we make split decisions that, cause us it causes the trajectory of our lives to change. And unfortunately, once she got in that car, we don't know what happened to her after that. So my question tonight is, what do you think happened? Do you think that there is somebody who knows something? Even that neighbor, do you think that the neighbor knows something more about LaQuanta, or knows the person that was living with LaQuanta and didn't give up that information? What do you think about this particular missing person case in particular? Also, if you want to discuss just some things that maybe change the trajectory of your life and you had to take a step back and go, man, I made the wrong decision, share your story. I shared mine, so share yours. So once again, this is episode 8 of Where My Girls At, LaQuanta Raleigh. Please be on the lookout for a cultural discussion that I'm going to have. Like, comment, and share on this video. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll see you for our next cultural conversation. This is Old School Heart. Please be safe out there, y'all. Bye.